Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive.
And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever, whenever you're listening to the show. This is Stefan, your Patriot Come Lately, British by birth, but American by choice, just like the Founding Fathers. Welcoming you to episode 254 of Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. We've been going at it for quite a while now. Very happy to be here. Yet again, this show is coming to you tonight from South Florida, Fort Myers to be precise. And we've got a lot to talk about tonight, so looking forward to handling a number of topics with you. But to tell you the truth, a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight carries over from what I was talking about last week. You may remember last week was kind of highlighting how our liar-in-chief, the guy that lives in the White House, seems to be showing a lot of affinity and friendliness towards Muslims. And of course, over the last week, a number of things have happened that you would really expect him to stand up and be very vehement about. But he's as weak as a pond water pool full of tadpoles, and just absolutely unbelievable how he and his regime are reacting to all these things that have been going on in the last week. So without much more ado, I'm going to head on over to my weekly commentary. Just want to say hi to Paul, who has joined us in the chat room. And hopefully Rex will be joining us soon as well. So let's go straight into my weekly commentary. And the weekly commentary this week, I want to talk about the unbelievable fact that the regime, on commenting about the 21 Egyptians who were so brutally murdered, the regime refused to call them Christians. Yes, they were 21 Coptic Christians, and many of my listeners I know will be aware of this, but they were brutally murdered by beheading, as ISIS is wont to do, in Libya this time, though. So now Libya, where we wanted to get rid of Gaddafi because everything was going to be so sweet, and again, I talked about this last week, the completely mess up that was made, and specifically led by Hillary herself. So remember this, folks, when it comes time to vote, and tell your liberal friends that they are nuts if they vote for her. But anyway, so in Libya, now there's a group that has allied itself with ISIS and is now calling itself the Libyan province of the Islamic State. And these 21 Egyptians were murdered just for their religion, nothing else, with a brutal beheading. You've probably seen pictures. I know there are videos out there. There are commentators who have watched it, and they say they need to do this for their public to really say how awful it is. Well, even without watching the video, I can imagine, I can tell you how awful it is, and I don't need to watch the video for that. And Also, I think it was after the show, we had the story about the young lady who'd been captured by ISIS and then supposedly killed by the Jordanian bombing, although we found out it probably wasn't that. Then we had the Muslim in Denmark who shot up a free speech meeting in a cafe where one of the cartoonists who had drawn the Mohammed cartoons was speaking. It's believed that he was actually the target of that attack. So all this is going on. The whole world is going to hell in a handbasket. And what does our dear leader do? Well, of course we know what he does. That's right, he went off for another vacation. This time without Muchel and the whiny little... Oh, sorry, the kids. Sorry, we're not allowed to attack the little snobs. But anyway, he went off for a vacation without all of them. And what did he do? Yes, of course. With his wimpy little swing and everything. Everything going on, and he has time for a vacation. He was only on vacation 3 months ago. I wish I could take as many vacations as that guy did, and I think 90% of America would love to take as many vacations as he does. Well, and I know he has it so difficult. He's got to make all these decisions. He doesn't take a freaking decision in his life. Anyway, so they put out a press release. They refused to call these Egyptians Christians. They refused to do that. Of course, when it came to talking about the Crusades, Barry was very vocal about that being Christians, but when this happens, they don't use the word Christians. Sorry, folks, this is just yet more evidence of the Muslim leanings of the White House. I really, really believe so. This is just showing that this White House, from the top down, has affinity for and is supporting the Muslims. And if we look at the number of Muslim Brotherhood people that are now in the regime, it's not surprising. But folks, we need to open up our eyes, because we can see, and I titled this episode, Proof That We Are at War. All of these things are proof that we are at war. That Islamic terrorists want to do nothing else but to subjugate us, to kill us, whether we're Americans, whether we're Christians, whether we're Jews. Anybody who doesn't agree with their way of thinking, who doesn't follow their perverted creed, they think should be killed, subjugated, made a slave. Women should be raped. Women should be... it's just unbelievable. And the left wing, how the National Organization of Women right now, how they can even support Muslims is just unbelievable with everything that they do. But the regime made it worse. On Sunday, Marie Harf, one of the junior high spokes-idiots, I think is a better term, of the State Department. They seem to be getting them right out of kindergarten now, not even grade school. They seem to come out of kindergarten. She was lecturing us that we can't kill all the ISIS people, and the only way to combat ISIS is to offer them jobs. Offer them jobs. Her boss, her boss's boss, right? John Kerry. Sorry. I always have that reaction whenever I talk about him. But John Kerry's boss, right, the idiot in the White House, he should be offering jobs. He should be offering jobs to Americans. He should be creating an environment that he doesn't need to offer jobs, that jobs will create themselves. Instead, they're talking about offering jobs to ISIS folks. What are they going to do? Invite them into America and let them come flip hamburgers here? Of course, no, they won't flip hamburgers because they're called hamburgers, and so they won't flip them even if they are made from beef because they're called hamburgers, and that's dirty. So they wouldn't do that. No, they can just come here, get some welfare, and use that to buy bomb-making materials and weapons, etc. Yeah. So, I mean, that spokes idiot is just such a bimbo. But what we also know is that, really, she's just regurgitating what is being handed down from the Muslim-in-chief's residence. It's been handed down possibly even from him himself. I think it's coming down from him and all the people he's surrounded with. They all think the same way. So we've got these 21 Egyptians that we're not allowed to call Christians. Then we've got to give ISIS jobs. I would like to offer all of ISIS a job. I think that would be a good idea. And that job is tending the fires in Hades. That's the only thing that we need to do, just kill the lot of them. And on top of the 21 Egyptians, on top of the guy in Denmark, on top of the man in Detroit who went around asking people at a bus stop whether they were Muslim or not, and when they said no, stabbed them. On top of that, ISIS itself, this bunch of low-life thugs, also burned 45 Muslims to death. I saw some pictures, I don't know whether they're true, I haven't had a chance to look into them, that amongst, I don't know if it's amongst those 45 or whether it's some other pictures, that children were being burnt in a cage, like they did to the Jordanian pilot. These guys are just totally out of control. Now, strictly speaking, that burning of 45 Muslims, burning them alive, think about that, folks. That is a horrid way to die. Strictly speaking, that burning of people to death, in some ways, is the worst. Because, apparently, the burning to death of people is forbidden by the very book that these low-life butchers purport to follow. That's right, the Quran, supposedly, and I haven't been able to check into that. Another thing that, if any of my listeners know would care to elucidate me, please email me. But they purport to follow that book, and yet they are burning people to death. But anyway, let's go back to the recent regime inane utterings. What else does he need to do to convince America that he has never had our welfare at heart? And everything he does is designed to destroy our culture and replace it by one that, in his own words, makes the sweetest sound at sunset with its call to prayer. His words. Okay, folks, let's see, we've got time. I do want to just have another topic in my weekly commentary. If you want to know where it leads, let me recommend a book to you. Now, regular listeners may remember me mentioning a book a while back called 1 Minute After by William Fortune. This book was about the chaos in America after detonation of one or more EMP, electromagnetic pulse weapons, over the country. Basically, an atomic bomb high up in the atmosphere. And what it will do, will send out an electromagnetic pulse, which will fry all the electronics and electrical circuits across 90% of America, because they're not hardened for this kind of thing. Military equipment, perhaps, is, but everything else is not. And you can imagine the chaos that ensues. That same author has now written a book about an ISIS attack on our country, which is called The Day of Wrath. If you want to be scared, read it. If you want to know what is actually quite likely in the next 2 to 3 years, read it. And I see, folks, the clock has been ticking. It's time to take a commercial break. So I'm going to take a commercial break and come back to this book, The Day of Wrath, after the break, which, as I normally say, it's got to pay the rent. If you need any of these services, please use the 8 number in the commercial. It helps support this program. These are per call commercials. I don't get a fixed amount for playing them. I get a fixed amount for those who call in and request their services. Okay, back after the break.
You can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or more with Maximum Slim's first ever rapid weight loss guarantee. Today, you get Maximum Slim, an advanced fat and carb blocker, absolutely risk-free. The all-natural ingredients in Maximum Slim are a powerful weight loss combination. The Maximum Slim formula turns your body into a fat-burning furnace that supercharges your weight loss. Advanced fat and carb blocker stops the breakdown of sugar so your body doesn't store it as fat. Today, you'll get both of these products absolutely risk-free with no obligation. Only pay shipping. There are no expensive meal plans or exhausting DVDs. Just take Maximum Slim twice a day. It's fast, simple, and now it's guaranteed. Look, you can start losing weight today or not. Go back to your high school days and wear your favorite jeans again. Guaranteed. Call now and get both weight loss formulas free. Call 800-451-0228. 800-451-0228. That's 800-451-0228.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend.
Huh?
The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. That's 800-917-8546.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
And this is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, coming back from the break. And in my weekly commentary, I was talking about a new book by the author of 1 Minute After. I mentioned that's a book about what the chaos that could ensue if America was hit by EMPs and basically everything we know stops. No more cell phones, no more cars, no more electricity, no nothing. Can you imagine what a disaster that would be, especially in the cities? Anyway, that same author has now written a book about an ISIS-like attack on our country. And as I was saying just before the break, if you want to be scared, read it. If you really want to know what is quite likely in the next 2 to 3 years, read it. It talks about a group, a large group, of Islamic extremists that carries out what is probably the worst kind of atrocity you could imagine. Perhaps short of detonating an atomic bomb or even introducing a biological warfare agent into the country, but still pretty, and in some ways even more horrific than those. I mean, an atomic bomb is really bad, large numbers, but it's over very quickly. This is something that is really, it will tug at your heartstrings. It would have a very, very profound impact on the country. Without revealing too much, it also involves taking advantage of the chaos that would ensue after if you like, the first part of the attack, to make the chaos 100 times worse. And I'm sure there are those that are going to say, well, Mr. Fortune, you've you've kind of laid out this plan here for ISIS to come in and do this. Believe me, they have been thinking about exactly what he's written about for years. The only question is, when will they actually carry out something like this? And hopefully by bringing this to the forefront, Fortune has actually done us a favor by making some people realize that this could happen and taking the necessary actions. Read the book, and then I think you'll see that some of the actions we need to take are very obvious. Let me refer you to the guy that ends up being the hero and something that he does that is very, very wrong, but turns him into a huge, huge hero. To top it all, this book introduces a subtext that aligns perfectly with the current regime. So Mr. Fortune is very in tune with the thugs sitting in D.C. and the gang in the White House right now. And that subtext is never letting a good crisis go to waste. So that's, it is a great book. It's all frighteningly plausible, and something that would be quite difficult for us to guard against completely. But as I said, there are some indications, I feel, that if we look to some of the things that happened, that would be a way for us to help protect against that sort of thing. The only small kind of negative comment I might have is that with the size of the group involved in this attack, I think that Fortune perhaps underplayed the likelihood of exposure. I think that there could have been greater chances of parts of the attack going wrong. But with the compartmentalization that he describes, even if there was more discovery happening, it probably wouldn't have affected the end result much. And to date, we've been very lucky with a number of things that we have had people who have infiltrated groups that are trying to do something bad. And so if you had a large group like that, but on the other hand, the way he describes it, this large group is coming from outside, easily comes into America through our porous borders. It would be very difficult to infiltrate a group like that. As I said, I think there's a likelihood of, by chance, individuals in that group being discovered. But, as I said, the way it is, nobody knows exactly where the other people are, what they're going to do, etc. So even if you reduce the size of the group slightly, it wouldn't have affected the end result of the book. So if I may, let me recommend it, read it, and let me know if you agree. And apologies to Rex, who's for recommending someone else's book, but this is really a good one, and it's actually only a novella. It's quite short, but frightening every page turn. And so, like I said, read it. Let me know if you agree. You can come into the chat room if you want to listen live and give me your comments there in a future show, or you can email me, Stefan@patriotcomelately.us, or you can go to the website, www.patriotcomelately.us, and click on the contact link there, and it'll open up a form that will send me your comments. Love to hear what you think of that. Okay, folks, let's go on to the next topic, and now that's the end of my weekly commentary. So let's just go on to some other frightening things. And as I said, proof that we are at war, proof that the White House is a Muzzy lover, and I hate to use that sort of denigration, but unfortunately it's true, because this is really scary, because this is something that CNS News has just published. The regime, yet again, refusing to call terrorism, and we know they refuse to admit ISIS is Islamic. They refuse to admit the threat of radical Islam spreading like wildfire. They just told us, oh, we've got them on the run, and yet now the biggest American base left in Afghanistan is being attacked by the Taliban, and in Iraq they are on the gates of Baghdad. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Anyway, and not only does the regime refuse to do all these things, but Obama hasn't come up with any meaningful plan to deal with ISIS. Yeah, Marie Harf, give them jobs. But now, believe it or not, it's getting worse. How could it get worse? How could it get worse? Well, the regime openly rebuked other nations who were taking proactive measures to confront ISIS in the Middle East. The Pentagon, of course, you know, the people at the top also are just regurgitating what they're told by Valerie Jarrett and Susan Rice from the White House. The Pentagon accused Egypt of using uncalled for violence in its fight against ISIS. In other words, they were being too hard on ISIS rebels. These are the people that just brutally murdered 21 Egyptians, and Egypt has to not do anything. The Pentagon actually announced that the United States does not support Egyptian and United Emirates airstrikes against Islamist militias in Libya, because the US believes the crisis in Libya must be resolved politically and without outside interference. Okay, so ISIS in Libya didn't have outside interference by killing Egyptians. This is how we can even allow this to happen. I don't know. It makes my blood boil. Of course, the DoD spokesman said that Egypt and the United Arab Emirates carrying out airstrikes in Libya was different from US airstrikes against the Islamic State in Iraq. And remember, they don't call them ISIS, they call them the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, ISIL. And this is another thing, and I've mentioned this before, but let me reiterate it. This is just this regime pandering to these thugs, because that's what they want to be called, because the Levant includes all of the Middle East, from Egypt through Israel, Syria, Jordan, all the way up to Turkey. And so we're in essence saying, yes, you guys are going to be the boss of all that area. I mean, they're absolutely crazy. So Rear Admiral John Kirby, he's sort of the earnest of the Pentagon. You know, Baghdad, we have to call him Baghdad John, I think, because he's also just constantly lying. He told a briefing, because the US was acting in Iraq in a very targeted manner at the request of its government. This wasn't some unilateral decision by the United States to strike targets inside Iraq. Yeah, that's right, because we would never do anything forceful, because we've always got to go and limply ask. Folks, I'm just at a loss for words for this. We discourage, here's what Kirby said, we discourage other nations from taking a part in Libya's issues through violence. It's not Libya's issue. It's Egypt's issue, because they killed 21 Egyptians, you stupid jerk. I mean, somebody should stand up and just say to Kirby, he's a jerk for doing this, because it isn't Libya's issues anymore. It is definitely, Egypt had a part in it. I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable. And the question that I have is, Why is Obama protecting ISIS? Yes, that's what it looks like to me, and what they're doing is proof that we're at war. If you're a Christian, if you're a Jew, if you're an American, if you're a European, they are at war with you, and it's about time we realized it. Folks, I need to cool down, so I think it's time for a quick commercial break, and I will be back after these messages.
Patriot come lately. British by birth. American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Every day, millions of Americans grow more concerned about the future of our great nation. The truth is, over the last century, a small but powerful collectivist movement known as progressivism has debased our politics, our culture, and our currency. We're just a small step from falling into 1,000 years of darkness, as Ronald Reagan warned. Friend, this is Pat Boone with an important free offer on a hot new book called The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Lowell Ponte. This new book explains how we, the people, can end this fatal detour into big government and get back on the path of faith and freedom charted by our founders. Call now for a free copy of the hot new book called The Great Withdrawal.
Call now for your free copy. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. That's 800-978-3901.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS that you can't pay? Call now for immediate help. At the Tax Relief Line, we help people just like you. If you take on the IRS alone, you could be facing levies, liens, even wage garnishments, personal or business tax issues. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call now and see if you can pay less. They can freeze your bank accounts, even garnish your wages. Call the Tax Relief Line now for immediate help. Our expert team of tax professionals will negotiate your tax problem and deal with the IRS for you. If the IRS is threatening you with levies, wage garnishments, or seizing your assets, call now and see if you can pay the IRS less.
888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043.
This is Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, keeping the spirit of America alive, a proud member of the Red State Talk Radio Network.
And folks, this is Stephan, your Patriot Come Lately. Calm down a bit, hopefully. We are into the second half of the show. Thanks for sticking with me. Just want to give you a reminder that if you like the show, please tell your friends about it. You can listen to the show at this site, radio.patriotcomelately.us. You can go to archives.patriotcomelately.us, although I have to say last week I didn't get up the recording from last week until today. I had a technical problem, a password issue. It's now resolved, and so you can listen to the recordings there. Tell your friends to go there. Or they can go to redstatetalkradio.com. That's a network that rebroadcasts the show. I don't know what the current schedule is. Primo's been moving the shows around a bit. But my show gets rebroadcast, I think, 3 or 4 times a week, and there's lots of other good people there. Now, last week was, if I remember rightly, was Rex's birthday. Didn't get him a present, so I'm going to give him a belated birthday present right now. And he mentioned that there was a singer that he likes, a young lady called Ava Aston, and she has a rather nice song called We the People. Here it is.
And I you and me. Together we are united. Together we are strong. With one voice we'll stand up against everything that's wrong. Time to stand up, time to speak out. We've gotta fight to get it back. Gotta reach out, get the thieves out. This country's ours, and we're taking it back. We the people. For the people, by the people. We've gotta fight to get it back. Gotta reach out, get the thieves out. This country's ours, and we're taking it back. We the people. Time to stand up, time to speak out. We've gotta fight to get it back. Gotta reach out, get the thieves out. This country's ours, and we're taking it back. We the people. We the people.
And that is the beautiful Ava Aston, a song that she wrote herself. She's very talented. Not only can she sing, but wrote that great song. Definitely a Tea Party anthem, that. And as you listen to the words, it's one way to get my blood pressure back down again. Works much better than my blood pressure meds, Rex. So, but thank you for that comment. Now, with all the bad news before the break and in the first half of the show, let's start with some good news after that nice song. I do actually have some good news. And that good news, you may have already heard about it, is the fact that this last Monday, so basically yesterday when the show is recorded, a federal judge in Texas blocked President Obama's, I used the P word in connection with Obama. Khalif Hussein's executive action on immigration. Now, it's only a temporary block because it's basically to give the coalition of 26 states time to pursue a lawsuit that aims to permanently stop the orders. But after a hearing in Texas in January, he thought long and hard about it, and he put a hold on King Barry's orders because in the memorandum that accompanied his order, he said that the lawsuit should go forward, and that without a preliminary injunction, the states will suffer irreparable harm in this case. And that was the argument that the 26 states were putting forward. They said while their claim for the permanent blocking of the order was being heard, if things went ahead, then it would be impossible to put the genie back in the bottle. On top of that, he also judged that the case that they had a very high level of success, and therefore it made sense to give this temporary blocking because again, it would, if they're likely to win, and in the meanwhile Obama is giving tons of people this basically this free amnesty, then how would you put the genie back in the bottle? So this is good news. Now, of course, the White House is furious about this, and they said that they are going to appeal it. But I think hopefully any judge with common sense and an understanding of the law will say, yes, you have to adjudicate this, and yes, if you go ahead with doing this, and we haven't decided, it hasn't been decided yet whether what he did with his executive orders is legal or not, let's all of us know that it's illegal, but a final decision hasn't been taken. So if he goes ahead with it, though, we won't be able to put the genie back in the bottle if the Supreme Court, because that's where this will finally end up, does say, yes, what he did was illegal. And of course it's illegal. I mean, it's so obviously blatantly illegal. One of the things Greg Abbott, governor of Texas, who basically Texas was the main state pushing for this injunction, and he said it is so blatantly obvious that what he did was illegal, because even the day after he signed it, he said, we have changed the law. He used those words himself. This so-called constitutional professor, who was actually only an adjunct assistant at the university, and obviously doesn't know the Constitution and has absolutely, or if he does, has absolute wanton disregard and contempt for the Constitution, because he said, yes, we have changed the law. The president cannot change the law, folks, and that's why what he did was totally illegal. So there was one of the programs was going to take effect Wednesday. Other ones don't take effect until later in the year, but for the moment they are all stopped. And of course the whole adjudication now of the rest of it could easily take a couple of years. Yes, folks, could easily go past January 20th, 2017. And you know what happens on January 20th, 2017? All of the executive orders disappear. Yes. So, if we can drag it out, that's going to be, that's one way to stop the president's overreach in its tracks. So, of course, on the other hand, we've also got folks trying to prevent these programs by cutting off the Homeland Security spending. And the House passed a spending bill to fund the department through the end of the budget year. But the Republicans in the Senate apparently don't have the 60-vote majority to overcome any filibustering, which is unfortunate. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Of course, once they've got it through the filibuster, they only need 50 votes to get it through. And of course, we have more than 50 votes in the Senate, and the Democrats know that because it is a funding bill, and funding bills can go through with a simple majority, which is how they forced that damn Obamacare on us. Anyway, folks, time for the last commercial break. Sorry about that hiccup there. Let's go to that, and then I think we got one more topic for the last part of the show. I'll be right back.
Reporting from the eye of the storm. This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks. And I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again. I'm predicting this storm front is heading your way, so call Basement Systems and relax.
Call 800-205-8665 for your free in-home inspection, or visit basementradiooffer.com. That's 800-205-8665, or visit basementradiooffer.com.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call. But I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that will give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-750-5371. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-750-5371. That's 877-750-5371.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
And folks, this is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately. We're in the final segment of the show, and want to thank you for coming tonight. Before we go on with the next topic, just a little reminder of what this is all about. I have these little clips. You'll recognize the voice.
And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. You and I are told increasingly we have to choose between a left or right. Well, I'd like to suggest there is no such thing as a left or right. There's only an up or down. Man's old age dream, the ultimate in individual freedom consistent with law and order, or down to the ant heap of totalitarianism.
Okay, folks, another topic for this week. And yet again, we catch the Obama regime in a lie. This time, it seems that they may have been lying about Netanyahu and his visit to address Congress. You may remember when our crybaby Speaker John Boehner announced that the Israeli Prime Minister had accepted his invitation to address Congress and on the subject of Iran and their building a bomb. The Obama administration got huffed and puffed quite strongly. A lot of the criticism was not directed primarily at Boehner, although a lot of the Democrats did. White House itself, not so much, who apparently did not inform the White House of the invitation until shortly before it was formally delivered. And some people say may have acted unconstitutionally in delivering that invitation. But really the fuss was against Netanyahu for breaching diplomatic protocol by accepting the invitation from Boehner without prior coordination with the regime. And the White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest said typical protocol is that a country's leader would contact the White House before planning to visit the United States. But Earnest says they didn't hear about the invitation until Wednesday morning, shortly before the Speaker announced it publicly. Now, one of the State Department spokesidiots, this was Jan Psaki, was a bit more circumspect, stating that traditionally we would learn about plans of leaders separately from the Speaker. Now, apparently, even friends of Israel, somebody like Richard Cohen, who writes for the Post, for the Washington Post, and he said this was very bad that Netanyahu would accept an invitation like that without informing the White House. Well, the truth is that Netanyahu did inform the White House before he accepted. He may not have heard back from them, but he did inform them. And also, let's face it, this is not something that doesn't have a precedent. In 2011, Boehner sent a notice to the White House stating his intention to invite Netanyahu to speak before a joint session of Congress, and the White House never responded. And Boehner proceeded to extend the invitation to Netanyahu. He accepted it and spoke. The White House didn't express any outrage in 2011, so why all of a sudden a huge brouhaha right now? Could it be that Obama's decided he's going to let his Muslim leanings reign on everything he does, whereas in 2011 there was an election coming up and he felt he had to be circumspect? That could be it. Okay, folks, we're slowly reaching the end of the show. If you've enjoyed this week's show, if you enjoy any of the shows, please do tell your friends. Come here for the live shows. Come here for the recordings. Go to archives at patriotcomelately.us for the recordings. Or listen to Red State Talk Radio, and you can hear Patriot Come Lately there. But let's get the message out. We still need to tell the world what's going on in the White House, because right now, if we let the front runner for the Democrats in and give her the keys to the White House, we're going to get Obama too. Yes, it'll be exactly the same. We'll get the same policies. Okay, folks, it's time to almost end the show. I'm going to ask you to join me again next week. I'm sure we'll have plenty of interesting topics. This regime is out of control. It's amazing what's going on all the time, and so there's just so much every week. I can't even handle all of it properly. So plenty to talk about. Do join me. Look forward to seeing you. I think the music is about to start, which means it's time for me to say TTFN, ta-ta for now. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the Patriot Come Lately Show. Please take what you have learned and share it with friends and family. Better still, tell them about the show so they can listen too. Remember to support the advertisers on the show. It helps keep this show on the air, and I thank you for that. I'm looking forward to joining you on the next show. Until then, keep spreading our message. Goodbye, and God bless America.